Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey Taylor. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I am here recording on my iPhone 6 because my other phone and my camera is very much disabled and cannot be working to record a proper video. So I'm going to be doing things a little bit more old-fashioned. And so I have my iPhone that's recording, and this microphone that I'm using only works with iPhone. Today I'm going to be talking about a beautiful curated girlhood summer recommendations. Whether that's movies, books, and music and activities, I just want to share things that I've been going through this beautiful summer season with you guys, and I think it'll help you a lot in finding out what you like to do. I haven't been digesting literature as much as I want to this year. A lot of other things have gotten in the way. I've had one of the most busiest summers, and I've just been always going to networking events, poetry readings. It's been very rewarding, but I do have some wonderful book recommendations that I actually read last year. This is all very curated to my specific taste, so maybe not everything that I recommend is going to be down your alley, but here are my personal favorites. So the first book that I want to recommend to you for reading this summer is one book that I very much enjoyed reading last year. This is Mrs. S by Kay Patrick. I've got this edition at Foyles, and it's also a signed edition, which I think makes it super special. And I love the little rose detail. I think that is lovely. Oh, and I'm so envious because there's come out a paperback edition of this, and I think it is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So I really want to get my hands on that edition. But I do think this one's pretty cool as well. I love the statue with the red lining. I think that's pretty nice. In an elite English boarding school where the girls kiss the marble statue of the famous dead author who used to walk the halls, a young Australian woman arrives to take up the antiquated role of matrone. Within this landscape of immense privilege in which the girls can sense the slightest weakness in those around them, she finds herself unsure of her role, her accent, and her body. That is until she meets Mrs. S, the headmistress's wife, a woman who is her polar opposite, assured, sophisticated, paragon of femininity. Over the course of a long, restless heat wave, the matron finds herself irresistibly drawn ever closer into Mrs. S.'s world, and their unspoken desire blooms into an illicit affair of electric intensity. But as the summer begins to fade, both women know that a choice must be made. Powerfully sensual and sublimely stylish, Mrs. S is a tale of queer love that smolders with the heat of summer. Kay Patrick's portrait of the butch experience is revelatory, exploring the contested terrains of our bodies, our desires, and the constraints society places around them. Mrs. S marks the arrival of a major new literary talent unlike any other. Yeah. The next book that I want to recommend is Lie With Me by Philippi Benson. I read this one last year as well, and it was so beautiful. It very much gives like French summer vibes. So I don't really have that much space on my phone, so I'm not going to read the synopsis for this one. I'm just going to read one praise from the back. A tender, sensuous novel. That's all you need to know about it. Next book that I want to recommend is obviously a very popular series, Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. I unfortunately don't have any of the books with me at the moment. They're with my twin sister. She has the whole collection of the books, and I highly recommend for those of you that just want those beautiful, innocent, summeristic vibes of like vintage, old way of slow living. The next one is is going to be book is somewhere, but it's Sappho poetry, poetry of Sappho. Any edition is great. My edition I picked up foils. It's a lovely edition. I literally just had it around here, but it's escaped me. The next book that I recommend for reading this summer and being immersed in love and poetry is, of course, Dante, the Divine Comedy. This is a fantastic read. It is so profound and beautiful. The next book I want to recommend for you to read this summer is Swimming in the Dark by Tomasz Jedrzejewski. I think that's how you say the name. Julie did a book club on this book. I think it was back in May. And I've obviously read it and tabbed it. This is a great summer read, place in the dreamlike summer, and I think is just so perfect. And like I said, I don't have enough memory space to read the synopsis, so I'm just gonna read a praise in the back. A beautiful novel and at its heart an amazing love story. The next book that I think you should read for this summer that you will absolutely love is Salt Slow by Julia Arnfield. The next book that I think you should read is some love sonnets from William Shakespeare. This is a very cute book that I got from Barnes & Noble's years ago. Just reading some William Shakespeare sonnets is definitely one way to really get into the summer poetical beautiful spirit. The last book that I want to recommend for you this summer is Sanguine. This is my poetry anthology that I wrote and published last February. It's so important to know that the universe will absolutely reward you if you are bold. A lot of these poems can be from like when I was 15 up into a couple years ago. In Sanguine, the writer becomes an artisan of emotion, sculpting verses that evoke the depth of the supernatant human condition. The inked revelations, an offering to the reader, invite them to traverse the landscapes of heartache and ecstasy, painted in the hues of spirited crimson. Each sentence forging, each paragraph a magnum opus. And so, in the quiet sanctum of creativity, where the union of pen and emotion transpires, the act of Sanguine becomes a ritual, a communion between the writer words and the eager heart of the reader, all bound together in the sacred art of storytelling. Sorry, I had to read my own synopsis. Next is movies. I think this is a very fun recommendation segment that I'm super excited to talk to you about, because there is a lot of summertime movies that I think you will absolutely love that are not mainstream popular. So first off, we're going to start off with Romeo and Juliet, the 1968 version. This I've watched a million times. Every summer, this is my ritual movie, and the actors that played it in this movie just did an absolutely phenomenal job. I think they are they capture that spirit of young innocence. The next movie that I'm going to recommend is Daisies, and I just want to say something real quick about the movie Daisies. This is a movie about two teenage girls decide that since the world is spoiled, they will be spoiled too. They embark on a series of destructive pranks to rebel against a materialistic society. And this is from 1966, which I absolutely love this movie. I think it's fantastic. Another film that I mentioned is Ever After, A Cinderella Story. This movie was made in 1998. It's a retelling of Cinderella, and the characters are so funny. Cinematography and the aesthetic of this film is something definitely to gravitate towards. Funny enough, but the book that she reads in the movie, Utopia, is actually where I started my reading journey. Utopia by Thomas More. But I didn't want to get it because if I get it, it's under all that pile of books, and if I take it out, all the pile of books are just gonna fall, and I kind of like the aesthetic in the back. The next movie is The Dreamers, and there's also a book of the motion picture. Beautiful cover. This was really cheap. I got it online last summer. After being charmed by a shy student, Matthew, twins Isabel and Theo offer him a chance to move in. While the city is in disorder, the young trio explore each other's bodies, hearts, and limitations. Very, very beautiful, this film. I absolutely love it. Next is a beautiful movie. This is Heidi. This is a 1937 film, and it's played by one of my most favorite actresses of the 20th century, Shirley Temple. An orphaned girl tends goats for her grandfather until she's sold to serve as a disabled girl's companion. This is a fantastic story of friendship, of relationships, and just making the most of where you're at and just being content with where you're at. And I love the relationship she has with her grandfather throughout the film. At first, he reminds me of like the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. He's very, dismissive of everybody and just wants to live a very secluded life, where she comes in, it's kind of like Pollyanna. Next movie is this fantastic old film. It's called The Pirate and it has Judy Garland. It is a musical from 1948. An engaged woman harbors dreams of being with the pirate Makoko. Meanwhile, Seraphet, a man who works in a circus, falls madly in love with her and pretends to be the pirate to win her affection. I just absolutely love this film. Gene Kelly and Judy Garland, their chemistry in this film is insane, but it's a fantastic old film. I've watched this years ago when I was like about 7-8 years old. It was one of the first films I remember watching, like remembering as a young kid, besides Zorro, the Disney series. So summery and beautiful and gives you those vintage old Hollywood vibes. Next movie is this beautiful film called Thumbelina. It is a 1994 family musical. Thumbelina, a thumb-sized girl, yearns for the company of someone her own size. Her life is changed forever after she meets and falls in love with Cornelius, a fairy prince. This is so cozy and screaming summer, and you will absolutely love this film, I can guarantee you. The next film that I have for you on this recommendation list is The Trouble with Angels. This is a 1966 comedy religious movie. It is so funny. I absolutely love the rebellion in this movie from these two teenage girls. The Trouble with Angels is a 1966 American comedy film about the adventure of two girls in an all-girls Catholic school run by nuns. I love how these two girls are being super rebellious and they're in this Catholic school and don't want to follow any of the rules, and they do a lot of smoking and a lot of just like messing around and misbehaving, and it is such a great film. I absolutely love this one. It also gives summer vibes because it takes place during the summer. The next movie that I recommend is Three Smart Girls, starring Deanna Durbin. She is my all-time favorite opera singer of the 1930s. This is a comedy musical about three young girls. This next movie recommendation that I have for you is this movie from 1958 starring Bridget Bardot. Juliet, a young and beautiful woman, catches the attention and lust of every man she meets. Things take a turn when she toys with her husband, his brother, and a millionaire. This next film that I'm going to recommend is a film that I haven't actually watched myself, but I've actually seen the exhibition of The Red Shoes in London. This is a 1948 romance musical called The Red Shoes, and it's about a young ballerina is torn between her art and her romance with a young composer. I think it is just beautiful aesthetic. I love ballet and the color red, so those two things intertwined just will make a great film. The next film I have on this list is Blue Hawaii, played by no other Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley plays in this musical comedy, and it is about the main character just got out of the army. Chad is back in Hawaii and looks forward to being with his friends and girlfriend. He defies his family's wishes and works at the beach, and it is just a fun summer story about chaos, romance, and of course it has Elvis singing a lot of his main hits in this film, so I highly recommend just to also watch it for his singing and the musical aspect of it, but the aesthetics, 1960s, I just love it, all intertwined into one film, especially if it's Elvis. Like, come on, you can't get better than that. And as you can take from this recommendation list, I love vintage movies. I'm not a big watcher of modern films. The last film that I have for you guys to watch is Emma by Jane Austen. The actress name is Anna, but she's a fantastic actress, so I highly recommend her films. But Emma specifically for this list is an absolute must watch. It is so funny. Mrs. Woodhouse is a comfort character. She's like my favorite from the film. Next, we're going to go through summer activities. Some fun activities that you can do this summer is curating a summer TBR, which is super fun. Just grab some of your old favorite books or go online and search for books to buy that is all surrounded in the summer genre. Also, writing a short story, like something that has to do with summertime, just making up your own fictional characters. Also, visiting museums is another aesthetic fun thing to do. You can also take photos in the museum, like take one of your friends to take photos of you in the museum is super fun. Painting outside is also quite fun. I've made some paintings in the back, if you can see there. That one back there, it's the feminine urge. This one says nothing matters. It's so funny because it's a trend that's been going on online that's called bed rotting, that a lot of girls are just spending all their time in bed scrolling through social media, so we call it bed rotting, which I think is a funny way to put it. Next, I'm going to recommend music, which is a very fun space to get into. So the artist that I'm listening to is Hava. I just listened to her album last night and I am a fan. Next is Last Dinner Party. If you haven't heard of them, what are you doing? They're fantastic, gory, gothic, renaissance type of band that is so unique. I love them. Next is I've been listening to Ghost. They just released their live concert soundtrack yesterday, and so I got a vinyl and it's gonna come in the mail soon. I'm super excited for that. Next is Girly. Girly is a very female empowering artist that I absolutely love. The Tortured Poets Department is an album I've been listening to non-stop. It is very sad. It's a very sad album, so if you don't want to be pushed into those moods, all the melancholy is just going to be thrown at you. Elvis is also a great artist to listen to in the summertime because he has a lot of like upbeat type of melodies. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got some lovely recommendations out of it. I'm going to be filming more videos for you in the future. And if you don't know what to comment your favorite summer emoji down below. And thank you so much for watching. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it is at Kelsey's Corner 98. And if you want to check out my poetry anthology that I wrote, this is a very highly recommended summer poetry book to read, and I know you will enjoy it because I enjoyed writing it last year. It was so much fun. But yeah, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next video.